Case-based discussion session 1. It is up to CBD 1 to 5. You have provided the answers, we'll see them. Case 1, MRSA bacteremia. So it is case itself implies the etiology or cause. A 20-year-old an athlete has developed high spike fever and was admitted to the tertiary care hospital. 2 blood cultures were taken and empirically vancomycin was initiated. On examination, his all systems were normal except pyrexia or febrile. He was febrile. Blood pressure was 110 over 70 and he was hemodynamically stable. Next day, both blood cultures became positive and identified as subsequently MRSA. On examination, his initial C-reactive protein was 230 milligram per deciliter. So what is the diagnosis? So it's given, it is, we'll say further, it is patient, young patient who was in the community, no any history of recent hospitalization apart from this episode or history. So it is community acquired methicillin resistant Staphylococcus aureus bacteremia. So what do you think about empiric vancomycin therapy? Yes, here it is typical history, I would say. 20-year-old an athlete, so it is young and also contact. Not a rugby player, but athlete also, bruises, lacerations, they may fall even with the trauma, so eye prone, so they are at the risk of acquiring this kind of bacteremia. So, and then high spike fever, it suggests even patient is fit enough, he is having a high immune response like. So he was admitted. So in not patient, so that's why we do blood cultures. So empiric vancomycin therapy, this kind of case, if you suspect, so ideally it would be case by case. Okay. So even you can go with the proxacillin and observe up to 2 days. But in this case, we it's better to initiate vancomycin while checking their serum creatinine level. So it is a targeted therapy. Rather, it's empiric, but it could be a targeted therapy as well. In third question, what is the targeted therapy? How complications can develop? What complications? Perhaps it's a bacteremia initially. MRSA Staph aureus is more prone to lodge in eye, causing endophthalmitis. And in the cardiac valves, this is a highly, virulent pathogen, not like uh, Streptococcus viridans as well as not like coagulase negative Staphylococcus. So in this case, they go and lodge in the cardiac valves, even with the minor undetectable trauma. So they're more prone to develop infective endocarditis, mainly left side. Then they can develop cryptic abscesses or deep-seated abscesses like psoas abscess, renal abscess, or deep abdominal abscesses. So those are the main complications. Apart from that, the patient is more prone to develop sepsis and as well as osteomyelitis, septic arthritis, or any mentioned infections following hematogenous setting of the bacteria. Even they can develop meningitis, but mainly endocarditis, endophthalmitis, and deep-seated abscess. So, how are the investigations required to exclude complications? So, this is you have to take in your mind because day-to-day life you may encounter this kind of scenario or cases. But not only doing blood culture only, that is not a sole treatment. Sole treatment. Even starting vancomycin, that's fine. But we want to exclude the complications as well in advance rather delaying. So think about the complications. We have to do eye referral to exclude endophthalmitis. We have to write to ophthalmologist, then request ultrasound scan to exclude deep-seated abscesses, and most importantly, not least, it is doing a 2D echo to exclude infective endocarditis. Right. So you have to done these things. You have to do these things while patient is having MRSA or Staphylococcus aureus bacterium, not only MRSA. MSSA also same. Only virulence is I mean, only antimicrobial resistance is the differ. We don't take much as, but almost they are same, equal. How do you monitor the clinical response? Here it asks clinical response. So how do we monitor? We can do patient examination and assess the fever, QHT. Then we can do every other day C-reactive protein, and initially we can do daily procalcitonin if it is available. Other important thing I have perhaps, then we have to do a repeat blood culture following 72 hours after initiation of appropriate antibiotic. That is, in this case, we have empirically started antibiotic, proper antibiotic, that is vancomycin, no anti-staphylococcus antibiotic. Get it clearly. So you imagine if we have initiated with cloxacillin, but later on we have found that it is MRSA. So cloxacillin, it is good for MSSA, not for MRSA. So we have to start the target therapy. Targeted therapy is vancomycin mainly or linezolid, but we go mainly with vancomycin. Then from that day onwards, 72 hours, 3 days, we have to do a repeat blood culture to exclude or assess the other way, for the clearance of bacteremia. This is done only for MRSA, STAP and MSSA, not for other gram-positive bacteremia as well as not for other gram-negative bacteremia. Keep in mind, we do daily cultures for candidemia. We'll discuss in case 5. That is a different case, but same thing, assess the clearance. But in here we do in the 3rd day following initiation of appropriate anti-MRSA antibiotic. Okay, keep in that mind. So what is the preferred duration of therapy? Often we'll say 10 to 14 days, but if there are any complications, we have to go for more. If patient is having osteomyelitis, maybe 3 weeks IV, maybe later on 3 weeks oral. If endocarditis, up to 6 weeks with IV. If having cryptic abscesses, we have to do the drainage. If can't do the incision, I mean aspiration, we may have to go for maybe 4 to 6 weeks. Like it depends. Okay, but without any bacteria, without any focus, those complications, without any complications, so often we give 10 to 14 days. That's how it goes. Next case topic is there. A 20-year-old female has presented to emergency department with right lower limb pain and swelling for 1 day. Perhaps this is not this. She has had a prick injury overnight ankle on a day back. She looks ill and has high-grade fever. Her blood pressure was 90 or 60, so it suggests low. Her medical history is insignificant and no known food or drug allergies. So what is the diagnosis? It is so young, and within a short day, 1 day, had a prick injury and presented with impending shock of high-grade fever, blood pressure was low, so it is necrotizing fasciitis often. Okay. Then what is the etiology? Etiology mainly Streptococcus pyogenes. Or it could be, that is the main etiology, could be following Staphylococcus aureus, MSSA or MRSA. What is the pathophysiology? Often inoculation mode of that is prick, inoculation into the skin. Then they spread, they replicate while there is a purslane in it. Depends, is there neutrophil, those things come and engulf, but they are highly virulent. So they produce multiple toxins, like enzymes as well as a lot of enterotoxin, those things, as well as super antigens also they are producing. So then immune response is though fair enough, but this toxemia perhaps lead to this pathophysiology, leading to localized, later on generalized condition. Localized means it leads to it produces hyaluronidases, collagenases, proteinases, so they destruct local skin and soft tissue. So even can cause myonecrosis as well. So necrotizing fasciitis is the extension of cellulitis. It goes beyond the subcutaneous fascia, or it leads to muscle as well and leads to total destruction. It's term fat, this bacteria term flesh eating uh, flesh eating microbe like. Okay, so what is the preferred empiric antibiotic? So empiric means in this case we are guessing, previous source of guessing and giving, because we know the focus but we don't know the etiology. So that's why always history is very much important. Patient presented with fever, we think it's infectious etiology. Often that's why we do the clinical history and examination. Collect the history and do the examination and find the focus. So then based on the focus, as well as we want to know whether is it community acquired or hospital acquired. Usually recent hospitalization, maybe up to 1 month, or recent discharge from the hospital, or even hospitalized patient develop symptoms for following 48 hours after admission. Maybe patient comes with heart attack, but 48 hours after 2 or 3 days after patient having cough and as well as he develops fever. Initially maybe MI and no fever. Then we do the examination, we may found a pneumonia. So it is hospital acquired pneumonia. But in other case, patient come with fever, come with respiratory symptom. In here comes with fever plus skin and soft tissue infection. So it is community acquired. So based on that, we want to think what is the common pathogen and their antimicrobial resistant pattern. That's why we need clinical research, epidemiological part. Then we know this particular microbe is resistant in this area, Anuradhapura area. We'll say Staphylococcus aureus, not Anuradhapura, also in around the world, around Sri Lanka, Streptococcus pyogenes. It is still sensitive to penicillin, lucky enough. But MSS or Staph aureus, it is not sensitive to penicillin. It is not susceptible to penicillin. That's a proper term. So then we have to think of anti-staphylococcus antibiotic like cloxacillin. In here we can give ideally penicillin, but think patient is thinking that this patient is impending shock. We don't have in etiology, but we think it is necrotizing fasciitis, not think it's for diagnosis. We better go with broad spectrum antibiotic, giving gram negative cover, plus gram positive cover, plus anaerobic cover, plus there's added advantages as well. We'll go with meropenem plus clindamycin, or piperacillin tazobactam plus meropenem is a carbapenem. It's a broad spectrum. Piperacillin also broad spectrum. It is a ticarcillin or clavulanic, other way piperacillin. Clavulanic acid is beta-lactam combination like coamoxicillin, amoxicillin with clavulanic. But piperacillin has a higher spectrum, and also it cover pseudomonas species as well. But in this case, it cover all the gram positives except MRSA. Okay, and vancomycin resistant enterococcus also, but could be can cover. So in this case, we give and we are adding clindamycin to provide anaerobic cover. Some may add metonite so to cover. That's okay, but clindamycin is which gives additional thing. What I said earlier, it goes and inhibit proteins. So it's a protein synthase inhibitor. So with the presence of that, it reduce or minimize the production of toxins, because we know protein, most toxins are proteins. So if we are capable enough to reduce the protein synthesis by means of antibiotic, protein synthesis from the bacteria, okay, Streptococcus pyogenes. So it provides the additional advantage. Also, it broadly, we don't know still, but it cover, we don't know still means about the etiology. So it broadly, so in empiric therapy, it could be broad. It should be broad, ideally, because we don't know the etiology. That's why we are giving those. And probably we can add either vancomycin or linezolid to give appropriate positive cover as well. It depends, okay. So etiological diagnosis, how we arrive. We do blood culture, and as well as if there are vesical fluid, we do gram stain and culture. Plus, further we do, if we are going to do wound debridement, wound toilet, layman term, we ask tissue culture, not the soap. Wound soap is, it is from the surface, so it often we may get a colonizer or commensal. But if you go for the deep tissues, it provides adequate diagnosis. So what is the appropriate management? Often antibiotics, broad spectrum in the empiric, but when we get the etiological diagnosis, if it is Streptococcus pyogenes, it's often susceptible, but while assessing with the susceptibility testing with the penicillin, we can narrow down and give penicillin plus clindamycin. So that's a target. How do you target the appropriate antibiotic? That's how. And appropriate management. Conjunction with, we want to do uh, ultrasound scan, even maybe CT scan if it depends, because it maybe can spread to the bones as well, can give rise to acute osteomyelitis, septic arthritis, those complications are there, DIC, those things. And we make a joint or wound debridement, that is surgical therapy plus medical. So then how do you monitor? We can monitor the patient's status, how patient looks, feel, to convert into mode of happiness. Then that is getting well. Then about the QHT, how fever or fever recovery or defusions. Then about the wound status and as well as clinical parameters. Then inflammatory markers, as I said earlier, this also we can do CRP every other day. And even if case is prolonged more than 3 or 4 weeks, it maybe can assess with the ESR, but in this is acute case, so we can do PCT as well. That's how it goes. Okay. Meanwhile, we have to assess airway breathing circulation because patient is in embedded shock. That's why. Then shock monitoring, QSOFA score, QSOFA as well as MUSE. That is in initial stage when patient present. We have to identify because as in this case, patient is having 90 or 60. So then we have to quick sequential organ functional failure assessment we have to do. Then modified early warning score. MUSE we have to do every half an hour. QSOFA also initial, then we can classify. Okay, so clinical scores are very much important. When we discuss about the sepsis, we will understand more. So this is patient with impending sepsis. So early identification is very much important. So duration of therapy often for the necrotizing fasciitis, cellulitis, we have to give prolonged therapy, maybe 10 to 14 days, not 5 or 6 days, like even many more. Initially with the parenteral intravenous, later on we can convert with the susceptibility to oral antibiotics. That's all. Third case, gram-negative bacteremia. It's given. A 50-year-old patient with diabetes mellitus was presented following fever for 2 days. A blood culture was taken. Patient comes with fever. Inward, we have to take a blood culture. Started ceftriaxone 1 gram 12 level. I gave the dose, but don't worry about the dosing. But proper dose should be there. On admission, he was hemodynamically stable. Next day, blood culture became positive and identified as Pseudomonas aeruginosa. On admission, CRP was 220. So, what is the appropriate antibiotic? Patient is hemodynamically stable, but ceftriaxone doesn't possess an anti-Pseudomonas activity. But we don't know patient come with I'm in Pseudomonas aeruginosa. Common conditions, often patient we want to find the focus, but here patient having a predisposing factor, but focus is not given. Often maybe simple bacteria. So we think ceftriaxone is a fairly okay therapy. So duration, what is the appropriate duration of therapy? 10 to 14 days. Like. So about validity of ceftriaxone as empiric therapy, because if patient comes with features of pneumonia, often we think common etiology is Streptococcus pneumoniae, Haemophilus influenza. Further, it can be Moraxella catarrhales, plus or minus atypicals. like Mycoplasma pneumonia, Chlamydia pneumonia, Legionella pneumonia. So in this case, no focus. If patient comes with urinary tract infection, common etiology is E. coli. If skin and wound soft tissue infection, as I said in earlier two cases, it could be either MRSA, MSSO, Streptococcus pyogenes. So thinking all, Cepraxone is here, it's okay. But soon after we know in this is Pseudomonas aeruginosa, we have to omit Cepraxone and go for, based on clinical situation, we can give ceftazidime or piperacillin tazobactam or meropenem. Always our effort is to spare the meropenem because it's a high-end antibiotic. If we lost that because carbapenem resistance is emerging, perhaps it's emerged. So we want to preserve our antibiotics because if patient or mankind we are having limited antibiotics, but if bacteria are capable enough to decay or withstand all the available antibiotics, so we are back like to pre-antibiotic era, no antibiotics like. So our effort always, because we are repeatedly exposing, then bacteria is good enough to develop resistance. They are more prone to develop mutations, ultimately develop antibacterial resistance. So all often, if we often give, we try to preserve carbapenem as well as our effort to preserve vancomycin, mainly linezolid, other area. So gram negatives, it's a complicated, but we can give ceftazidime with the susceptibility. Then monitor the clinical response. Clinical, as I said earlier, here we don't want to do repeated blood cultures, but if patient is not responding, maybe having focus of infection, then we may for 5 days having continuous fever. Usually with the appropriate antibiotic, 48 hours we have to assess the patient. That's it's a universal thing. We can do a repeat CRP, assess the clinical response. So about the markers of inflammation, clinically everything we want to combine. That's how it goes. Rickettsial, its case is given, but it's not given. It's with the image here. So it's support diagnosis. Rash or palms. 22-year-old male presented following high-grade fever and generalized fatigability for 2 days. She's having petechial rash all over the body, which was originated from palm and sores and later spread. He's having pets at home. So it's straightforward. What is the diagnosis? Thai person. But other clinical signs you know to NC. In our country, it's difficult, but ESCA maybe can find. How do we arrive at etiological diagnosis? Perhaps we want to do blood, serum studies, and as well as molecular studies, PCR. What is the pathophysiology? PET, they having ticks or fleas. Then with the flea bite or tick bite, Orientia sutsugamosi or Rickettsia prowazeki or Rickettsia type, any pathogen can enter to our circulation. In the primary case, they go all over the body and they reach into our reticular endothelial cells and it leads to vasculitis. As well as secondary bacteria, they go and lodge into liver, spleen, and many other organs. So in the primary stage as well as secondary stage, exaggeratedly leads to immune response, leads to this kind of response from our body. Preferred antibiotics are usually tetracyclines and chloramphenicol. Chloramphenicol nowadays it's rarely prescribed, so tetracycline, that is doxycycline, will be adequate. How do you monitor the response to the treatment? Monitoring the response, here we ask in monitoring the response to the treatment. We can monitor the response clinically, how fever subsides likewise, and how patient is improving. Their hemodynamic parameters, how it improves, and the rash disappearing, those things. Then we can do markers of inflammation. Okay. Then respond to treatment, not related to here, but if patient is in abscess, not rickettsiosis. So if abscess is healing, we can do imaging studies like ultrasound scans, even CT X-rays. Uh, those are not related, but mainly it's clinical response as well as inflammatory markers. But imaging studies we can do, then some cases we can do. In the next case, you will understand we can do mycological cure. How microbiologically, mycologically it cures. Likewise, we can think in different aspects. Okay. Candidemia. A 55-year-old patient recently underwent liver transplantation. Nowadays, we do those. At day 20, he presented to transplant unit with high-grade fever and fatigability. So no hyperacute or acute graft rejection. Patient looks okay, but unfortunately, patient has developed fever. So with high-grade fever, 2 blood cultures were taken in note patient presented with fever. Then IV piperacillin tazobactam was empirically initiated. Initial CRP and PCT were 202, 23, and 2 nanogram milliliters respectively. On day 2, blood cultures were positive for Candida species, and CRP was risen to 320. What is the diagnosis? It is candidemia. How do you further identify isolate of Candida? It's given in your assignment. That's how Chromega looks like. We initially, how we do identify is we do a blood culture, it became positive. We do gram stain as well as we can do with the lactophenol cotton blue. When gram stain also we can suspect large yeast are there. So we culture them in saburated dextrosega as well as chromega. Chromega is one which uh, with the presence of those Candida species, they give different colors. Candida albicans, the one bluish like, it's depend on manufacturer's instructions or their type of chromega. So it gives a different colors. So based on that, we can identify. That's one way. Anyway, we have to take, we have to identify, we have to keep that chromega another to 24 to 48 hours. So it takes time. Meanwhile, if we are having a blood culture positive, then we take them out, we do a gram stain, as well as we subculture them in a saburated dextrosega. Meanwhile, if white echo BDP nicks like automated microbial identification and ABST, antimicrobial susceptibility platforms, expert systems are available like Candid, nowadays Polonaru also available, and even Colombo. So we can identify the organism within 4 hours, like it's rapid by means, as well as it is automated. We just want to feed in the cassette and put in the machine. That's it. Then it alarm and identifies. So Candida species can be identified based on, again, culture methods. Then culture methods we classify as, we have to do a germ tube. If germ tube, it's a simple test, and we do the constriction by looking microscopy while inoculated this organism into the serum, and within 4 hours we can see if they are see what is germ tube. If it's an expert, just a trained eye, they can identify this is a germ tube or not, pseudo IP. If germ tube is there, more towards it is Candida albicans. If germ tube is negative, it is non-albicans Candida. Like there are a lot of organisms: Candida tropicalis, Candida gabrata, Candida parapsilosis, Candida gulielmondi. Likewise, there are a lot. Then what we do, meanwhile, we can do rice agar plate and look to the microscope. Different morphological appearances are there. You don't want to know much, but culture methods are there. Staining including germ tube one thing. Then we do biochemical test to identify. Then we do like molecular test, but PCR is not readily available. Then galactomannan like antigen detection tests are there. Human antibody detection is not done. Antigen detection is done. Antigen is from the organism. So about empiric piperacillin tazobactam on this patient, I would say it is rational, because patient comes with liver transplantation, come from the home, but reason hospitalization is there. So hospital-acquired pathogen like Pseudomonas aeruginosa are high in list, but we don't. So that's why thinking Pseudomonas plus, we give broad cover. But then we have done blood cultures as well as inflammatory markers. Inflammatory markers high, and subsequently, even with the empiric broad spectrum antibiotic, CRP is rising, no increasing, and patient's condition also getting worse. So it implies that this piperacillin tazobactam is not providing the adequate cover, even provided that we are giving adequate dose in interval, likewise. But still, then we may think, is it resistant pathogen because patient was recently hospitalized? Can it be a extended spectrum beta lactamase producer or carbapenemase producer? Yes, it's high possibilities there. Oh, it could be MRSA, could be. Or then it could be a fungus, maybe a virus, because patient is in immunocompromised stage. This patient also has had multiple invasive devices likewise. So patient with invasive devices, maybe a patient in catheter. So patient is at a high risk of developing fungal infections. So we have to give, depends. Okay, patients come with gravely ill, case by case. We would prefer giving not gravely ill, but in expert hands, we can start like voriconazole adding for the as a broad spectrum fungal cover plus antimicrobials. So in this case, in this case, it's ultimately turned into the candidemia. So now even piperacillin tazobactam we can omit and give based on susceptibility. We can even give intravenous fluconazole, but voriconazole now it is available, so we give no need giving amphotericin B unless it is resistant. Usually Candida albicans is susceptible to fluconazole, voriconazole both. Usually we give voriconazole to cover Aspergillus species, but it has a cover for Candida as well. Fluconazole is better. So then we have to do daily blood cultures. Providing adequate cover, we have to do daily blood cultures to assess the clearance. Daily single blood culture, and duration of treatment depends on the day where last culture became negative. Imagine we have started today, daily we have done blood cultures, and up to 4 days, like daily blood cultures are flagging and they become positive for Candida. But we give adequate cover, then day 4 is negative, luckily. Then from that day onwards, we have to give another 14 days. So altogether, maybe for 18 days, in my example, what I say, you have to give antibiotics, antifungals. That's how it goes. And meanwhile, we have to remove all the lines. If it is necessary, we have to replace, as well as we have to exclude here also Candida, like MRSA, Staph aureus, MSSA. Here we have to do 2D echo to exclude endocarditis and endophthalmitis. Likewise, both we need to do. Even it can develop deep-seated abscesses. So we have to keep in those in our mind. So these cases are now emerging because we do multiple therapeutics like transplantation as well as cancer chemotherapy. Those things are VQ. Then patient survival is increased, but at the same time, hospitalization and hospital stay also prolonged. So, and they are in immunomodulators. In this case also, if patient is not responding, we have to think about and give, and their immune modulation we have to optimize, we have to balance, because high immunomodulation or immunosuppression, it's not good. So then we have to initially we have to balance and reduce the immune suppression. Then once the initial episode of infection is healed off, recovered, then we can think. So it's those are the complicated cases. Okay. Okay, then thank you very much.